Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, Web Cooking Classes. 10 years isn't nearly enough. We're going to look back on 10 years of Web Cooking Classes today on the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. It is us live together again every Tuesday at noon Eastern. We're having a blast. And all our friends are with us. This is going to be a very exciting show. Let's see. Alan is with us. Hi, Alan. How you doing? Candy is here. Michael Bernard. Marv is with us. And Susan and Donald and Diane and Eloisa and Bob Lewis and Jana and Joanna and all our friends are at my birthday party today. We are together to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Web Cooking Classes. It just is so exciting. I want to tell you all about it, but I want to remind you what this is all about. We are the Carefree Cooks. We create our own recipes. We bring our friends and family together. We learn every time we cook and define our own cooking styles by practicing pro methods, and you wind up loving your cooking. That is the point we have gotten to over 10 years, and I can't believe it. I have a game for you still today. Let me throw a true or false out at you. Pound cake. Pound cake is called pound cake because it gets its name from 1 pound of butter, 1 pound of sugar, 1 pound of flour, 1 pound of eggs. Is that true? Is that really true? True or false? Tell me in the comments below. Pound cake is because of the pound each of ingredients. All right, look, I cannot believe it's been 10 whole years since Heather and I had the idea to take our cooking school online. It was late September in 2009, and I didn't know it, she didn't know it, but everything was about to change. Do you want to hear about it? Do you want to hear how this all came about, how we got to the point that we're at now, affecting people all over the globe? How about we take a stroll down memory lane and revisit some of the highlights from 10 years of Web Cooking Classes. Does that sound good to you? Thumbs up or hearts or something if it does. If you've ever wondered how it all started, what I had to go through to get through this, you're going to love today's broadcast just as much as I do. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited because this is how it went. When I moved my 5-year-old catering company into our new location in 2006, I knew things were going to be different. There's me in 2006 with my then business partner, and I was the one with the short hair back then. That was strange. I had found a closed seafood restaurant in Cary, North Carolina, and I figured I could easily renovate this place and make it into a wedding facility so I could stop driving my catering van all over town. Anyone that has ever done that job has set up and broke down weddings and weekend events and large business events. It is really hard work putting stuff in and out of the van and so on. And my chef, Greg Razor, and I, rest in peace, my friend Greg, we spent 3 months renovating this place, this stinky seafood restaurant, power washing, cleaning it up, 2 chefs acting as general contractors. Did not know what we were doing. Not at all. And remember when I said, oh, this is going to be easily renovated? That was the last time I would ever use the word easy when it came to this huge project that we had undertaken. But look, I don't have to go through all the nuts and bolts of it with you, pun in there somewhere, but I could tell you that we did renovate it. Look how beautiful that is. We spent the next few years seeing weddings, birthdays, a lot of business lunches. We did a lot of charity events in the catering hall. It was a hopping place for a while. For quite a few years, it was a hopping place. But I had a problem. I had this extra room in the back. And it had been the fish market's wine bar. And I really had no use for a wine bar in a catering hall. But yeah, I knew I had to do something with this room. It was just this extra room. We were using it to store chairs and supplies. And it was just ugly. I wanted to do something with it. And of course, since the first renovation was so much fun, we decided to go ahead and do it again. We were going to build a cooking school in this empty room. Building this kitchen was neither easy nor fun. I have no idea why I did this after the nightmare of renovating the catering hall, but I was going to take it on again. The building inspectors, the fees, the regulations, do this, don't do that, jump right. One guy says jump right, the next guy comes tomorrow, what'd you jump right for? You know, I came so close to quitting on so many occasions, I can't even tell you. And then I was the victim of an $8,000 kind of bait and switch on an exhaust hood that the city mandated that I install. This is a cooking school. I just wanted to go to Sears, and get an exhaust hood. But the city mandates that I buy this $8,000 hood, tells me who to go to, and the guy rips me off. Can you imagine? So after getting ripped off for thousands of dollars, you would think I would quit. What is wrong with you, Todd? I mean, seriously, I really wanted to quit. I wanted to forget about this whole thing. The room was just fine as a storage room for chairs, but I had this fantastic concept. I had this thing in my head. I had the whole curriculum for the school in my head already because I had been that home cook. I was the same guy. I was the one that was frustrated by recipes until I went to culinary school and was taught a whole new way of cooking. I lived it, so I was a career changer. I knew what this bridge was, and home cooks are taught differently than chefs in culinary school. And I discovered this immediately because I tried as a home cook to learn 100 different ways to cook, and I was terrible. There's like 5 things I could cook. All of them were basic, very, very basic. And once I discovered this difference, I wanted to share these differences with everybody, with the world, because of the way it changed my life. And I knew that I could help change other people's lives. Well, good news, the cooking school eventually was built. No injuries to me. It was difficult, again, but you always look back on these things and you don't remember the pain. You remember the joy. Well, the first thing we started doing was offering free introductory cooking classes on Monday nights. I would bring in 10 to 15 people. We put an ad in the newspaper, and I would start to explain my philosophy of cooking methods over written recipes. And I would use the 9 steps in the basic saute method that WebCookingClasses students now all know all so well. And I would make my famous South of France chicken right in front of them. Go through the steps in South of France chicken. And as you might expect, in these Monday classes, I was very calm. I was very subdued. I was all worked up all the time. Chef Todd was with his cooking methods, screaming in people's faces. I used to get so juiced up. I was so passionate to finally be sharing these concepts that I'd been practicing for years. And so every one of these classes became an event. It was just such a big deal, and it was catching on. People understood what I was talking about, but I wanted to share it with even more people. Like, I knew I could do it 10 people at a time, but how do I reach more people? Because I knew this was new. I knew this was life-changing. So I went down to an electronics store, or Best Buy, or one that aren't even in business anymore, probably. And I bought, let me show you, I bought this video camera. All right, this little Canon. This is the guy. If there's a museum of Chef Todd, this should be in the museum of Chef Todd, because I didn't know how to use the camera. I knew nothing about it. I had absolutely no plan, nothing to do with the camera. I didn't know anything about video editing. I didn't script anything. I didn't plan anything. I just turned on the camera and I just started talking. So you want to see my first video from 2008 where I'm trying to explain what this is all about? All right, the very first video when I turned this camera on, not knowing anything about it, having no plan, I just wanted to get my philosophy out. And here it is, the very first video from 2008. Hi, I'm Chef Todd Moore. Welcome to Cooking Course. Oh, that? I'm cooking a recipe. Would you like me to show you how I cook a recipe? Be glad to. First thing we do is take a saute pan. We get some fire on the stove and take our recipe, touch that to the flame, nice medium heat, right, under the stove, and that's how we cook a recipe. Now, why am I burning recipes? To make a point. My feeling is that one of the most difficult things for the home cook is the recipe, is this recipe book, these specific instructions that you must follow. This is the only way to prepare something edible. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. Cooking is an art form, like music is, like painting is. And if it's an art form, it's open to artistic interpretation, so that you can instill your specific likes and dislikes into recipes. Why must we follow one person's specific ingredients and specific instructions, especially with all the variations possible in recipes? When a recipe calls for one onion chopped, is the onion this big? Is the onion this big? When it calls for medium heat, I got news for you. Medium heat on your stove at home is much different than medium heat on my stove here. How do you quantify medium? So with the inherent differences and variations in recipes, how do we come out with something that we're proud of, that we enjoy? Well, I see it like the guitarist, like the musician, like the painter. Here's what happens in the home kitchen, right? You get your favorite cookbook, you open it up to your recipe, and the first thing is onions, right? So, excuse me, onions chopped. In the pan. Excuse me, got to look at the recipe again. Celery chopped, and of course the onions are already burnt. So celery on. Excuse me, got to look at the recipe. Well, what if the guitarist did this? What if an accomplished musician? I'm an accomplished guitarist. I'm going to play the guitar. Excuse me, I have to look at the sheet music. Excuse me, I have to look. No, they strum, they go, they play. The painter, he paints, he applies the paints in his artistic interpretation. This is what I hope to empower you with. We needn't follow recipes line for line, word for word, considering the variables in them especially. Have you ever read a recipe that says cook at 350 degrees for 20 minutes? 20 minutes! How do they know? How do they know how thick the chicken is? How do they know how thick the pan is? How do they know what the pan's made out of? How do they know how medium my medium heat is? How do they know what altitude I live at? How do they know all these variations in a recipe to be able to sit at the publishing house and tell me absolutely it's 25 minutes? You can't go by that. You go by your specific likes and dislikes. You apply basic cooking method. If you cook a recipe, you cook one thing. When you apply basic cooking method, you cook all things. Here at Cooking Course, what I hope to do is bring you basic cooking method, ideas, chef secrets from the culinary world, and demystify these recipes. Make them simpler for you, give you more confidence in the kitchen, and I hope you follow me on a daily basis. Goodness. Classic. How classic is that? Talk about a museum of Chef Todd. Oh my goodness. And there was that exhaust hood in the background. One of those things, every time I look at it, I see that damn exhaust hood. But it shows you, like with my old Savor Hospitality catering company website scrolling across the bottom, I was just trying to get people to come to my cooking school. That's all it was. But you know, silly me, if you start putting videos on YouTube, it doesn't just go to your neighborhood, right? It goes all over the world. And I started getting comments from everywhere. And I knew I was onto something. I was doing some crazy things. And, you know, with the determined personality that I have, I went nuts. This little camera that I showed you, it witnessed an avalanche of cooking knowledge that came out of my mouth for the next 9 months. Every day for 9 months, I made a new video. I would lay awake at night Couldn't sleep because I was thinking of the next video I wanted to make. I could not wait to get back into that cooking school that I had gone through so much to build. I couldn't wait to get back there every day to get those ideas out of my head and into the video camera. And I know a lot of you can still hear that whoosh, 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 right? If you've been with me for 10 years, the cooking course was my original video series on YouTube. And don't tell me I spelled course wrong. It's a pun, okay? But that was the original opening of Cooking Course. And because knife skills are the very first thing that we teach in culinary school, I started with a series of videos on knife skills. And I spent that entire summer promoting my cooking school with cooking demonstrations at wine festivals, beer festivals, anywhere, farmers markets, anywhere that people would let me do a cooking demo to talk about my cooking methods and knife skills. I wanted to be there. So I always made sure that I told people what the safest way to use the knife is.
Just to show you that this is the absolute safest way to do this.
How this is the safest method for cooking things. So just to demonstrate that this is the safest way, is actually the safest way to cut things. Just to prove to you exactly how safe this is. So I'm not going to be able to watch this.
Oh no.
5 fingers, no blood. That's successful. Hold your applause to the end, please. Did I beg for applause just then? A little bit. So I kept filming, I kept putting down everything that was coming out of my head, everything I knew about making sauces, everything I knew about using herbs and spices, everything I knew about the science behind baking, using rices, grains, potatoes, eggs, soups, making pasta. It all came spewing out of me. And before I knew it, I had created 200 cooking videos that people were telling me were just blowing their minds. And I had this new approach, the first new approach maybe since cavemen cooked with fire. Cooking has been taught the same way forever, and that's when I really started to examine everything I could about food and cooking, because it was bringing confidence, creativity, and enjoyment to everyone at home. And I kept looking for new ways to get my lessons across, new ways to go out and meet the people that were making the food decisions so that people at home could have better food as well. And more, the questions started coming up. Who is this guy? Hi, I'm Chef Todd Moore. Welcome back to Cooking Course. We're not talking about fine cooking today. We're talking about Cooking Course. We touch the recipe to the heat. This is medium heat, by the way, under nice medium heat. And that's how I cook a recipe. In Momeyer, North Carolina with Tim Bass, Sunburst Tomatoes. I found your secret garden, Tim, when it's freezing outside. This is how you do it. This place is incredible. Few things that I like more than a really fresh strawberry. I'm here at DJ's Berry Patch with Jessica, the owner of this tranquil spot. Hey, I'm not going to get very far in Hawaii without knowing how to carve up one of these in a nice presentation. That's how you husk and open a coconut. Not something that you would do very quickly in your grocery store. Well, the first step is to come to Paris, because only those sparkling wines that are made in the Champagne region of France can be called champagne. I'm at the Boucherie here, which is where they sell meats in France, in Paris. They don't go to Sam's Club. Bonjour, Pascal.
Bonjour.
We are here to talk about the fine ingredients that he has in his shop, because we were talking about just what I said. You start with good ingredients, simple methods yields the best food.
Absolutely.
Now today we're in New York City at the Fairway Market, a market like no other, and we got to figure out why they call it that. We're here at the Polish Festival in Riverhead, New York, to find those things that really make our hearts feel good. Na zdrowie.
This is unacceptable.
I don't mean to make a face, but
well, I mean, I wouldn't want to see this either. Here's some hot water. How much nutritional value does water have? Well, look on the bottom of your screen. Zero.
Right.
Zero
Right.
nutritional value. It's the Food Night Show. Here's Todd Moore. Hey, everybody, welcome. Thank you. An onion, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, head of broccoli. It is such an honor to have you on the Food Night Show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind, we'll take a look at a clip. This is onion in French onion soup. Let's take a look. They choose to settle it here in our forum, the food court. Order! Order in the food court! It's time for everyone's favorite produce-based game show. Who is fresher? Thank you, Dusty. Thank you. Great to be back. Now, how much would you pay for a pan like this? How much? Would you pay $49.95? You would? Oh, okay, $49.95 it is. Welcome to Stratford University. Thank you to the Urbanite magazine. Thank you to Richardson Farms. We're going to talk about the actual things that real kitchens do to serve people in the dining room. Because I want to talk to you about tailgating and football foods. We're on the beach in Oak Island, North Carolina. Tom. Oh, man. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
So I knew I was onto something here, as silly as I could be. And you see, I've tried to get my message across in so many ways, but demand was building. I got it every day. I got the feedback. People were asking me, do more videos. You know, I want to see about this unique approach, and I knew I could help even more people if I just organized this mess, you know, this stream of consciousness that came spilling out of me over the previous 9 months. It was like all over the floor, you know, but it was just really good information, just all over the place. So by this time, it's September of 2009, and Heather and I lock ourselves in seclusion for a week at a friend's house, a beautiful house on the water in North Carolina, and we pulled it all apart. We designed the entire WebCookingClasses curriculum and our first very crude website, very clunky going along, and the online school opened its doors on September 28th, 2009. It was a tremendous occasion. Through all that work, from renovating a building and building a school and getting it online, it was incredible. But I'll tell you one thing, I will never forget our first student. It was so crazy. Anna Eshnick. Anna, if you're still out there, we had just turned the website on live. There was no advertising. We hadn't told anybody about it. And Anna's name popped up as our first paying student within the first few hours. Thank you, Anna. You started something that has exploded in 10 years, and you were the first. But, you know, the moral of the story is I wanted to quit so many times. It was so hard. It really was. I had so many obstacles. People told me it was a really bad idea. Nobody wanted to do that. And I had no idea what I was doing. Don't forget, I knew nothing about editing video. I knew even less about posting videos on the internet. But the alternative? Not doing it? Not renovating the building? Not sharing what I knew I could share and help people? That was not the alternative. There was none. Quitting was never an option, no matter how hard it was. And, you know, I'm so glad that all of us together here today benefit from the fact that I wouldn't quit, because I benefit from it as well. I love talking to people, answering questions, interacting with everyone, hearing the testimonials and emails I get about the exciting things people do. But that's my point. If your cooking journey is difficult, if you really want to quit because it's not working out the way you thought it should, don't. Don't. I'm here. 10,000, almost 10,000 carefree cooks. The people that have gone before you, they did it. They're here for you as well. They don't think they're any better than you. None of us are. We're all the same. Don't give up. Move forward. Don't quit. I didn't. You shouldn't. See what you want it to be and make it become that. Because I'll tell you, 10 years, I used to tell this to my students all the time, 10 years is going to pass anyway. You do nothing or you do everything. But 10 years is still going to pass. And the question becomes, where do you want to be at the end of those 10 years? Because you'll wind up in entirely different places if you do nothing versus do everything. And since today's topic is all about starting over fresh, being at the beginning of a long journey, let's check in with some before photos. And I tell our Carefree Cooks this all the time. It's always a good idea to take photos at the beginning of your journey, even the dishes that you think are fails, because then you compare photos later on. When you've mastered all the methods and cooking seems so easy to you, you look at those photos before and you realize how far you've come, and then you really want to keep learning. So here are some of our before photos that most certainly will improve with a focus on the methods and a desire to never quit. Tracy made some hot dogs this week. She said she steamed them and then grilled them, a combination cooking method, some American cheese and chili. I love American cheese too, Tracy. I know people ridicule me for it, but you know what? Maybe this is a before. Maybe Tracy's going to work with Web Cooking Classes lesson week 12 and make a cheddar cheese sauce in the future for her tube steak. Then maybe she'll compare the photos in the future. That's the way a Carefree Cook's journey goes. Jeffrey made his own version of an Egg McMuffin in the microwave. It looks really tasty, Jeffrey. It's buttery, looks warm, but maybe this is Jeffrey's before picture. Maybe he'll look into Web Cooking Classes lesson 5 on poaching eggs. Then maybe he'll discover a hollandaise sauce in week 29. Yeah, you never know. Connie's on a journey. She wants to make her own croissants, but she's been experimenting with different kinds of fats and, their effect on the flakiness of it. And she said she wasn't happy with this one. She's going to get it perfectly soon. But you know what? Right before I got online to join us today, this is less than an hour ago, Connie posted this photo in our Carefree Cooks community. That's how Connie's croissant looks today. Perfect, right? It's not a magic trick. You don't get it done on the first try. Like Walter. Walter made a beef bulgogi for the first time, something he says way out of his comfort zone. I love reading way out of my comfort zone. I love that. For first time, it looks really good, Walter. But again, this is one of the benefits of cooking by method over written recipes. Like I say at the beginning, every week at the Carefree Cooks Creed, you learn every time you cook. Look at what you've made. Think about what you did. Think about what you did well. Repeat the method. Look at what you made. Think about what you could do better. Think about what you did well. Repeat the method. That's just how it goes. It's a simple formula. That's how you eventually develop the perfect original dish that you will never need a recipe for. You'll never need a recipe again. The true false today is pound cake called pound cake because it's equal proportions of all those ingredients. Yes, indeed. That's why it's called pound cake. So baking is formulas, not recipes. You now have an instant formula that you can memorize for pound cake at any given time. Look, if you know someone who's on a tough journey themselves, if you know someone who can see where they want to be, but they're not taking the right steps, tell them don't ever give up. Like and share this video, send it their way because they're going to love it. And if you're ready to begin your own Carefree Cook's journey to find the way to true confidence and creativity in your cooking without ever having to use a recipe, I've got a guidebook this way. I've got a guidebook for you. It's the 5 forks to Carefree Cooking, and I'll help you make the decision at the 5 forks that come along in your journey. Thanks so much, everyone, for being together. Happy birthday, Web Cooking Classes. Let's start the next 10 years and really enjoy our cooking and be proud of it. Chef Todd Moore reminding you that there's a method to your cooking success. See you soon, everyone.